Ever get that feeling, like you're trying to figure out where we're all headed, like as a society? It's like trying to solve a puzzle, but half the pieces are missing, and the ones you do have keep changing right in front of you. And, the stuff you sent this time definitely taps into that whole feeling of not knowing what the future holds.
It really does. This screenplay draft, it's like a window into a future that's so close, yet everything feels off, shifted. We're talking about problems we recognize, but with like this unsettling twist. Seeing how characters react, how the mysteries unfold, it exposes those hidden anxieties and power struggles.
Exactly. And this deep dive, think of it as a sneak peek into a world wrestling with politics, technology, and those age-old battles for rights and recognition. We're going to cut through the noise and get to the heart of the mysteries and the political scene laid out in these sources. Our goal: leave you feeling informed, aware of these possible futures, without getting bogged down in the nitty-gritty. No need to bore anyone, right?
And right off the bat, bam, you're hit with this feeling of a world in transition. That news report Riker listens to at the very beginning, it just throws us into the deep end of this crazy political climate.
Oh, yeah, that news report, protests against President Sleaze. I mean, come on, the name itself says it all, right?
Mm.
But then it's like, boom, Prime Minister Jocks is working with, and I quote, rainbow alien freaks. And on top of that, hydro bills are going through the roof, somehow tied to the Prime Minister's husband and his whole immigration thing. It's like a blender full of classic political anxieties with a heaping scoop of what the heck is even happening, all very deliberately mixed together, don't you think? A tactic, maybe, to keep the public off balance, focused on all these separate anxieties instead of the bigger picture.
It's wild, right? And what's really interesting is how normal it all seems to be presented. That phrase, rainbow alien freaks, it's not just some futuristic slur, it's like prejudice evolving. The other isn't just about being human anymore. It makes you think about how our biases might adapt, morph, and challenge who we consider us and them. And that whole thing about hydro bills being linked to immigration. Classic scapegoating, but in a totally new context. Blame it on the aliens, right?
And then we see Canadian Pride Press mentioned. It hints at a media landscape that's fragmented, each outlet pushing its own agenda, potentially fanning the flames of division even more. And hold on, there's that bit about Premier Carr's press conference with the Zarshan alien in his cabinet. I mean, wow, that's a huge visual, right? Aliens integrated into the political structure. Makes you wonder how smooth that integration really is, though.
That image, the alien in the cabinet, sticks with you. It screams questions about power in this future. Political alliances, identities, everything's up for grabs. But then, boom, the protests. Just because there's an alien in the cabinet doesn't mean everyone's on board or that those deep-seated tensions are gone. It begs the question, is this real change or just for show?
Yeah, and at that press conference, there are disability rights advocates with banners saying things like disability rights are human rights and let people with disabilities manage their own money. These are battles being fought right now. Seeing them echo in this potential future just shows how crucial these issues are. And then there are the people with the neurodivergent wired power t-shirts. Activism still alive and kicking, focused on specific concerns of the neurodivergent community. Makes you wonder what issues remain unresolved, even with all the technological advancements they have.
It speaks to the staying power of these social justice movements. Political structures might change, technology might leap forward, but that core fight for equality, for autonomy, for marginalized communities, it doesn't just go away. That demand about managing their own money, that's a deep-rooted desire for control, rejecting those old paternalistic systems, and still relevant in this future.
Then things get real, really fast. That projection slams the Carr government's record on disability and workers' rights. It's bold, risky even. And the response: security drones with lasers. It's chilling. Future governments might just use technology to squash any kind of dissent. It's a trade-off, isn't it? Security versus freedom of expression. How much are we willing to sacrifice for that sense of safety?
Those drones, they highlight a future where control, particularly over what people can say and do publicly, is so much more efficient and maybe way too powerful. It raises the question, when you're up against that level of surveillance and force, how do you speak truth to power? How do you hold them accountable?
And then there's Premier Carr and Francine Leachy from Leon Liberty Healthcare Management. Riker tries to ask about staffing issues, disability culture training, those past human rights complaints, but they just deflect, talking about their shiny new supportive complex. It shows this disconnect, between the people in charge and the reality on the ground. Makes you doubt how much they actually care about those problems.
The whole interaction, it's like a textbook example of how Big organizations and those at the top can get caught up in PR, pushing their own agenda.
Yeah.
They brush aside serious concerns like not having enough staff or violating human rights. It hints at a deeply entrenched power structure, unresponsive to the needs of those they're supposed to help. And they mention past issues, like with Robert Sparkle Sr. at Pine Valley Home, so this isn't a new problem, it's a pattern.
And those promises from Carr about innovation and cheaper hydro during that meeting with President Sleaze and Prime Minister Jocks, it all sounds good, but where are the specifics for the disability community? All those people protesting, where's the plan for them? It feels like a lot of talk, but no real action for those who need it most.
Absolutely. There's no concrete plan, no real commitment to those who are just out there protesting. It makes you wonder if their voices are even being heard at those high-level meetings. It's all about those broad strokes, the general benefits, maybe to hide the fact that they're not really addressing the unique struggles and needs of the disability community.
And then, boom, the whole thing explodes into a riot. Carr makes those patronizing remarks about families taking care of people with challenges, and that's it. The spark hits the powder keg. Maggie, the egg lady, she starts throwing eggs, and then there's this guy in a wheelchair dressed in a suit, and he's furious with her. It's like this snapshot of the tension, the different perspectives, even within the disability community itself. Makes you think about the cracks in that society, what they disagree on, you know?
That riot, it's a raw display of frustration, anger boiling over. What Carr said, it likely struck a nerve for so many who feel abandoned, marginalized. But that contrasting reaction, the guy in the suit, it shows that even within the disability community, there's no single experience, no one-size-fits-all opinion. Different people, different priorities, different ways of fighting for change. It's not a monolith.
So we have this backdrop of political turmoil and social unrest, and then the story zooms in on Riker's personal life, his worry for his brother Cody. Now Cody's got a past, former drug trafficker, criminal record, the whole 9 yards, and now he might be evicted from this Leon Liberty healthcare management place, Northwoods Homes. This shift to the personal, it really brings those big political issues down to earth, doesn't it? It makes it real.
Totally. Cody becomes the lens through which we see how these massive societal forces impact an individual. His past makes him vulnerable, subject to prejudice, and he's navigating that within this system. His housing situation, so unstable, that's the reality for many on the margins.
And get this, Riker's editor shoots down Cody as a source because of his past. Case closed. It's a glaring example of how people who are marginalized, their voices are often ignored, even when they have valuable insights into the problems, the system itself. It makes you question who gets to tell their story, who is considered reliable.
That editor, he's demonstrating a bias, maybe even unconscious, within the media. Past mistakes overshadowing the present, important stories going untold. It makes you think about how entire communities can be excluded from the conversation simply because of who they are, where they come from.
But Riker, he doesn't give up, and we meet the people in Cody's building. Earl, who's quadriplegic and retired, Wayne with cerebral palsy, and then Alex, multiple sclerosis, a retired social worker, and an advocate, no less. This little community, it's like a mini version of that larger society we've been glimpsing. So many different experiences, vulnerabilities, all under one roof.
Those characters, they give us that ground-level view of everything we've been talking about. Their different experiences show how complex these challenges are for people with disabilities. It's a reminder to look at individual stories, not just the big picture. And Alex, as an advocate, adds another layer, right? A history of fighting back, understanding the system inside and out.
And then Wayne drops a bombshell. He saw Cody on a stretcher with EMTs and the police, and Cody's words, he can't, what about what they did? Talk about throwing a wrench into the works. What happened to Cody? What did they do? It's a mystery that pulls you right in.
That's our turning point. Something big has happened to Cody.
Yeah.
That cryptic question, it hints at some kind of injustice, mistreatment. We're immediately hooked, wanting to know what led to this, what's going on.
And guess what? Maggie, the egg lady, she knows Cody. They were at a rally together protesting the dismantling of the direct funding program. So they're connected through activism, her actions are tied to Cody's situation, and it suggests a whole network of people fighting these battles. Direct funding, by the way, it's about giving people with disabilities more control over their own care funding, just for context. And then we learn Francine's been trying to evict Cody. That's a conflict, right? Power imbalance, big time.
It emphasizes that this fight isn't over, it's ongoing. Maggie and Cody, connected through their shared activism, it speaks to the power of community, finding strength in shared struggle. Francine trying to evict him, it shows how vulnerable he is, how much control management has over the residents' lives.
And Riker can't reach Cody. Earl's worried Cody might be drinking because of all the stress. It all points to someone who's struggling, and it just adds to the mystery, right? Where is he? What's happened?
You start to feel that tension building, that genuine concern for Cody. He's isolated, maybe relying on unhealthy coping mechanisms. It all points to a very precarious situation, and we're left wondering what's become of him.
And then the Riker goes into Cody's apartment, and things get, well, weird. Old home movies playing normal enough, but then, bam, a sentient dishwasher. And there's a note on the door talking about the return of institutions, challenging management on human rights. It's creepy, unsettling, and makes you wonder what's really going on in this society. The dishwasher, it seems like a funny detail, but think about it. We're getting attached to technology, even in our homes. It's kind of disturbing when you really think about it.
It's that blend of the everyday and the totally bizarre that makes this world feel familiar yet subtly, disturbingly different. That note, though, institutions, human rights, those are heavy words. It's like a primal fear going backward in how vulnerable people are treated, questioning authority, fighting for autonomy and dignity in this future world.
Then we jump back in time to this housing court hearing about Cody's eviction. Francine, she paints him as this horrible person, uncooperative, disrespectful, a troublemaker. But Cody's lawyer, Dawn, she's trying to pick apart that story, challenge the whole basis for the eviction, this whole legal battle. It lays bare the power dynamics, how easily people with disabilities can be labeled, dismissed, even in a court of law.
That court scene is crucial. We see the legal hurdles Cody's facing, the power imbalance between resident and management. Francine's trying to discredit Cody, while Dawn's fighting to make sure his rights are protected. It's a system that's stacked against him.
One thing that sticks out is Cody's APSW, his adult protective service worker, and the whole debate about whether Northwoods, which mostly deals with physical disabilities, is even the right place for Cody, given his potential mental health challenges. It's a reminder of how people with complex needs can slip through the cracks. Systems aren't always designed to provide that wraparound support.
Exactly. It raises the question, are they really meeting Cody's needs? It emphasizes the need for personalized care, taking into account the whole person, not just their physical limitations. A holistic approach, that's what's missing.
And then there's the drug use allegations, timelines that don't add up, no solid evidence from Francine's side. It's fishy, makes you think the whole eviction thing is bogus. And Dawn brings up the lack of alternative housing, the potential discrimination, because Cody's neurodivergent. It's a tangled web, highlighting the obstacles people face just trying to find a safe, suitable place to live.
Those inconsistencies, the lack of proof, it points to a potentially biased, maybe even fabricated case against Cody. And what Dawn's arguing, it's about the core issue of housing insecurity, how people with disabilities, especially those who are neurodivergent, face so much discrimination. It's a systemic problem.
Back in the present, Cody's still gone, vanished. His neighbors are worried, but Wayne, he doesn't want to involve the police. He's scared of what management might do, but also, get this, he wants Cody's apartment. It's a disturbing truth, how even in a community of vulnerable people, there's pressure, self-interest.
That's the thing, isn't it? Wayne's fear, his self-interest, it shows how this system can breed insecurity, competition. It's supposed to be a supportive environment, but it might be creating tension, undermining solidarity. It's a sad irony.
And then we have Riker calling Thrive Home Care. It's a nightmare, stuck in this automated system, and then bam, we learn about these Serve UT 800 robot PSWs. And guess what? Cody was assigned one that morning, even though we know he hates technology. This just throws gasoline on the mystery fire. Did a robot take him? Did you try to run from it? So many unsettling possibilities.
The robot PSW, assigned to Cody right before he vanished. That's a huge red flag. Knowing his aversion to technology, it makes you question if he even agreed to this. And the implications. Maybe technology is directly involved in his disappearance. It's a whole new level of disturbing.
Buckle up, because the mysteries keep coming. We meet Mo, son of Cody's former roommate, and he's got this story, sounds almost paranoid, about Francine targeting him after his dad died. He claims he was falsely accused of threatening staff, kept from seeing his own father. And his dad, he died shortly after getting this wavelength chip implant from WiseTech, supposed to regulate his mood. Something's not right here, and it could be big.
Mo's story takes us into some dark territory. It suggests abuse of power, corporate wrongdoing, the whole shebang. He says he was falsely accused, kept from his dying father. That paints a picture of a management team that might play dirty. And the timing of his dad's death right after getting that mood chip, that raises serious ethical questions, maybe even criminal ones. especially when Mo claims he was pressured into signing off on the surgery, even though he wasn't allowed on the property.
Meanwhile, we've got an NDP press conference. Kartar's talking about the Zarshan alien being killed, the rising Hydra bills, and the feeling that the disability community is being ignored. He mentions this strong serve rights mentality, and it's a sharp critique of how society might be viewing treating people with disabilities. It's like the needs of caregivers, institutions come first, not the autonomy of the individual.
Kartar's words connect those dots, right? Cody's struggles, the wider concerns of the disability community, and the attitudes, the political priorities of the society at large. That strong serve rights mentality, it implies that people with disabilities, their inherent rights, their self-determination, it's not valued as much. It's a disturbing thought.
And hold on, Maggie finds something in Mo's dad's file. It looks like Mo signed off on that chip surgery while he was banned from the property. That's coercion, manipulation, plain and simple. But Riker takes this to his editor, and guess what? The editor's obsessed with the alien shooter story, totally dismisses Cody's situation. He wants something juicier than former coke dealer loses services. It shows how messed up the media's priorities can be, chasing those clickbait headlines.
That discovery about the signature, it makes the whole thing about Mo's dad even more suspicious. And the editor. It's a perfect example of how hard it is to get those less sensational but equally important stories out there. The struggles of marginalized communities, the systemic issues, they don't always grab the headlines.
And the danger for Maggie? It's getting real. News reports say the police are looking for the egg lady. And back at Northwoods, there's a tense meeting. Management's freaking out about bad press and their falling rankings. Francine's losing it, demanding names, threatening lawsuits, firings, the whole 9 yards. It's a toxic environment, more focused on silencing criticism than fixing problems.
They're upping the stakes for anyone who speaks out, that's for sure. Francine's reaction shows that management is all about damage control, protecting their power. Even if it means sacrificing transparency and accountability, they're circling the wagons.
And then we get this glimpse into the future of care. The Disability Liberation Project, they're developing these super advanced C3RT robot models, realistic skin, better senses. They even emit synthetic body odor. They're going all in on technology, but it brings up so many ethical questions. Are we dehumanizing care? What about patient autonomy?
These robots, they represent a potential sea change in how we provide care. Technology might solve some problems, but trying to make robots more human-like, it raises big questions. What is care? How important is genuine human connection? Are we dehumanizing the people we're trying to help?
And hold on, it gets worse. They've deactivated the recording function on some robots without telling the residents. And these new, even creepier robots are being rolled out. No warning, nothing. Sally, a staff member, she raises concerns, but Gary Anderson, he basically says disability rights are a joke. And then Francine, she threatens Sally, saying her Aunt Alex might be forced to get that mood chip. It's a power trip, pure and simple, using fear to control people.
That lack of transparency, rolling out these robots without telling anyone how they work, it's a blatant disregard for the rights and autonomy of the residents. Sally's trying to do the right thing, but it gets shut down. And Francine's threat, that's how they operate. Silencing dissent, controlling vulnerable people.
And they know about Riker and Earl. They call Cody a toxic patient, and they're going to run a background check on Riker, review Earl's service contract. It's like they're trying to shut down any investigation, punish anyone connected to Cody, anyone who asks too many questions. How much surveillance is there? How much control do they have? It's chilling.
Surveillance, retaliation, that's their game plan. Calling Cody toxic, it dehumanizes him even further, justifies their actions. They're not interested in his well-being. They're interested in maintaining control, no matter the cost.
Amidst all this, there's a quiet scene with Earl and Yvonne, a human PSW. Earl's relieved he doesn't have a robot. He tries to connect with Yvonne, but she's professional, distant. It's a small moment, but it shows what we might lose as technology takes over caregiving. What happens when human interaction fades away?
Human connection, empathy, that's at the heart of good care. Technology can't replicate that no matter how advanced it gets. Earl's need for that human interaction and Yvonne's response, maybe it shows how burned out caregivers are in a system obsessed with automation.
Riker's not giving up, though. He's going to use what he's learned from Mo, from Cody's file, to expose Leon Liberty. And he needs Earl's help. He might even reach out to Roxy Blue, a former staff member fired under shady circumstances. It feels like a resistance is forming, a fight for answers. Cody's disappearance, Mo's dad's death, it's all connected, pulling more people into this potential conspiracy.
Riker's not backing down. He's building alliances, a testament to the power of fighting back against injustice. And Roxy Blue, there's a whole other story there. Hints at more wrongdoing, maybe even whistleblowers within the system.
As the episode closes, Riker and Maggie are about to leave, but they'll be back to record Earl's testimony. Maggie's shaken, scared even. And what about Riker's past as a cop? Why did he leave that life? We're left hanging on the edge of something big, and the stakes are getting higher for everyone involved.
That ending, it leaves you wanting more, a knot of tension in your gut. The risks are growing, alliances are forming, and the situation's escalating. Riker's past. Another layer of intrigue. What are his motives? What's he capable of?
So, as we wrap up our deep dive into this screenplay, let's rewind, revisit those unanswered questions. What happened to Cody? Did he agree to that robot PSW, or was there something more sinister at play? How did Mo's dad really die, and what about that signature on the chip implant form? And those advanced robots, the secrecy around them, what does it mean for the future of care? It's a future that's full of uncertainty, that's for sure.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Cody's disappearance, Mo's dad's death, this advanced technology, those threads are all woven together. It's a society grappling with big ethical and political dilemmas, where the consequences for individuals are huge, and the truth is often hidden. And with those political parties, familiar yet different, new faces in the game, it's a volatile backdrop for these mysteries to play out.
There were those whoa moments, right? Like those robots, how easily they brushed aside the ethical concerns. Makes you think about unchecked technological advancement, what happens when transparency goes out the window, especially when vulnerable people are involved. And that editor focused on the sensational stuff, ignoring Cody's plight. It just shows how hard it is to get those important stories heard, even if they're not flashy or headline-grabbing.
Absolutely. Those are wake-up calls, reminders that efficiency and tech solutions aren't everything. We have to think about the human cost, the ethical implications, and the editor. It's a lesson in media literacy. Don't just read the headlines, dig deeper, understand the real issues at play. And in this world, with those political structures unclear, new policies shrouded in mystery, it just amplifies the uncertainty these characters face.
So think about this, okay. In a future where human care and artificial care, that line's getting blurry, and the political landscape is shifting constantly, how do we protect those who are most vulnerable? How do we ensure their well-being when you've got powerful corporations and potentially shady government policies in the mix? Tough question, no easy answers.
It is indeed. But exploring these potential futures through stories like this screenplay, it helps us to think critically about the choices we're making right now, the kind of world we want to build for tomorrow.
So until next time.
Take care.